Welcome in to CUSA All Access. We're back here, and we're back here for one final time of this semester. I'm your host, Devin Lockert, alongside Willie and David. Welcome back. How are we guys feeling today?
Feeling great, ready to talk some CUSA for one more time.
Yeah, I'm feeling good.
Yeah. Yep, all good. So let's dive right into it. Volleyball. Let's start off with volleyball. So regular season closed out, and some interesting things we saw. And the conference tournament is going to start this Friday, November 22nd, and go end Sunday, the 24th. And I'll dive into that in a little here. But let's talk about the volleyball last weekend and how it changed everything with regards to the shakeups and who won, who lost, and then looking into the tournament. So over this past weekend, Middle Tennessee and New Mexico State squared off where they split the series one game apiece, Friday and Saturday, and then Jacksonville State cleanly swept Louisiana Tech 2 sets to in both matches, and then Western Kentucky cleanly swept Liberty in both matches. UTEP cleanly swept Kennesaw State in both matches, and then FIU cleanly swept Sam Houston in both matches. So only Middle Tennessee and New Mexico State split the series. Everyone else was a clean sweep. Out of that, Willie and David, what are your guys' initial thoughts going into the tournament and out of this past weekend? Who kind of stood out, or maybe like not the greatest?
The series that really stood out to me this weekend was Florida International and Sam Houston. Florida International was the only team really on the bubble. They were 2 games ahead of Louisiana Tech, and losing both games this series put them in an odd situation if Louisiana Tech had been able to take care of business. But they decided to not even make that an option for Louisiana Tech. They went in and took care of business against Sam Houston, protected their playoff chances, and swept both in a spot where I really didn't think a sweep was in the cards for anybody.
Yeah, and for me, I think WKU had a really good series, and not that they needed an extra push going into the tournament, but they swept Liberty, and I think that's a really good momentum for them.
Yeah, you talk about momentum, great motivation, bouncing back with the FIU Panthers, and that's going to be interesting how they ride that momentum into the tournament. So let's talk about the tournament. So Friday at noon, we start off with the 1 seed Western Kentucky going up against the FIU Panthers. Then at 2 o'clock, we have the 4 versus 5 seed, where it's going to be the 4 seed Kennesaw State Owls up against the Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders. And then at 5 p.m., we have the 2 seed UTEP versus the 7th seed Liberty. That's going to be definitely an interesting one to watch. Both teams are, even though Liberty is on the lower side, they're kind of falling off, but they can get hot at the right time. And then at 7 p.m. to round out that night, you have the 3 seed, the New Mexico State Aggies, hosting the 6 seed Sam Houston Bobcats. And then semifinals and then finals will be November. And that's going to be interesting. So out of those, I would say the Sam Houston Bearcats kind of stand out to me, but don't sleep on that Liberty matchup. What do you guys think going into this tournament, how it's going to play a role into momentum and based off how they ended the season?
I think our volleyball conference is very top-heavy between Western Kentucky and UTEP, so I really see the 4-5 matchup of Kennesaw State and Middle Tennessee as the one to watch. I really see MTSU as the main Cinderella potential in this tournament, being able to, be a lower seed, get an upset, and, make some noise in this postseason tournament.
Yeah, I agree with Willie. I think that the top 3 seeds are going to coast through their series, but I think that MTSU is going to beat KSU.
Yeah, I agree with you guys, and I like how you brought up that Cinderella team. Middle Tennessee, I think, on their side of the bracket is definitely the Cinderella team and the team to watch out for. Not a lot of teams have seen that, like a dynamic duo like Rhoda and Spees. Even though Spees is a freshman, she is one to watch out for. So that's definitely something to look out for. And then on the second half of the bracket, Liberty. You talk about Cinderella teams. They started off hot, and then they kind of fell apart. So that's going to be an interesting one to watch. What are your takes on that UTEP matchup? And then if they're the Cinderella team or the Bearcats are the Cinderella team?
On that side of the bracket, I see the Bearcats as more of a Cinderella. I just think that UTEP has had it rolling this year, and along with Liberty's struggles, and pairing that with the tournament being in El Paso, I think UTEP's able to take that home field advantage and just put away any thoughts for Liberty as a Cinderella.
Yeah, Devin, like you said earlier, Liberty's gotten hot at the right times, it seems, but I think that UTEP's gonna deal with them just fine.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be interesting. I like how you brought up that UTEP home field advantage. So that's going to play a part. And with CUSA volleyball, sometimes it's rare to have home field advantage play a role into it. So it's going to be interesting how teams travel in the CUSA tournament compared to regular season games, as well as compared to bigger conferences, whether that's the SEC or ACC or Big Ten or whatever. That's going to be interesting how that travels. So that's the tournament, and out of that tournament, who do you guys have winners?
Western Kentucky, they are the dominant team in the conference. They're the team to beat, and I think they coast right on through and get their 95th straight conference win.
Yeah, I've got to go with WKU as well. I just keep thinking about that series they had in Texas against UTEP, and they swept them no problem. So I've just got to go WKU.
From what I saw, I am not going WKU. They're on the downslope, I would say, and give me the New Mexico State Aggies. They're the 3 seed, but they're heating up at the right time. You have great players like Star Williams, and they have a dynamic duo up on the front. That front line where against Spees and Rhoda was fun to watch this weekend here in Murfreesboro, but they're getting hot at the right time, and you have to be careful for them. They have an easier shot to the finals, and it's going to be WKU on that side of the bracket, but I think getting hot at the right time, bringing that momentum compared to WKU slowing down. Maybe they're just slowing down to conserve for the tournament, but I really think New Mexico State got hot at the right time and will beat them. It's going to go to 5 sets, of course. Give me the New Mexico State Aggies for the conference tournament champions. So let's move on from volleyball and let's dive into basketball. No soccer, as that closed up with a tough FIU loss in the NCAA first round tournament against the Auburn Tigers. So congratulations to the FIU Panthers on a great soccer season, but we're diving into basketball. And let's start on the men's side of things. Here are the current standings. Now, conference play doesn't start till the new year, but there are still some things based off other teams that they're going against that we can see out of the Conference USA teams, who's kind of sticking out and who's kind of meshing well. So the current standings for the men's side is Louisiana Tech at 1, followed by New Mexico State, Liberty, Middle Tennessee, then Kennesaw State. Then Jacksonville State, UTEP, Western Kentucky, Sam Houston, and then FIU. So out of those teams, guys, who kind of stands out to you? That may be a standout good or a letdown.
Kennesaw State has looked great to me so far in this young season with their out-of-conference schedule. They have a youth movement, as you know. They're welcomed into the Conference USA for their first basketball season, and they have gotten 2 Freshman of the Weeks so far in this short amount of time. And I think that the youth in Kennesaw will bring them some success, albeit maybe not as much in the conference play once that kicks off. But so far in out-of-conference, they've looked like a really good team.
Yeah, for me, I've expected a little bit more from Middle Tennessee, but they've just looked disappointing so far.
Interesting how you brought that up. I do like your Kennesaw State point. They're starting off good, but again, conference play, that's a whole nother animal to get into. I don't know how they're going to match up. To me, it's this WKU team. They made it to the finals last year, and they didn't have a lot of seniors. They have a lot of returners, but with regards to how they're performing, and they're not facing top-tier teams like Kansas or Gonzaga or Villanova. They're facing lower to mediocre teams. So my big thing is this WKU team is underperforming with what they have talent-wise, and I think it's going to be, if they dig themselves a hole now, it's going to be real tough to get out of it when conference play occurs. So on the women's side of things, here are the standings. Western Kentucky, Louisiana Tech, then Middle Tennessee. That is really rare to hear. Middle Tennessee's not leading. Even though conference play has not started, they're usually up there at the top. Then you have UTEP, followed by New Mexico State, Jacksonville State, Sam Houston, Liberty, Kennesaw State, and then FIU. Again, same thing as the men's question. Who's a team that you're kind of looking at saying, okay, you guys are performing a lot better than we projected from your talent that you have, your new coaching, whatever, or you guys are projected here. Why are you guys playing at this level? You're underplaying your competition maybe, or you're just not performing to the level we expected.
Middle Tennessee State's been a little disappointing to me so far. They're 3-1, so they've taken care of business against the teams that they need to. But they took a trip to Knoxville to play the Lady Vols, and they lost by 14. And after a win at a neutral site last year, it's pretty disappointing. I mean, Middle Tennessee's lost a little bit of talent from last year. I don't think we'll see the same kind of tournament success from them as they saw the previous season. But just the home court advantage didn't change that much, in my opinion, for an early season game like that. And I don't think the Lady Vols have gotten that much better for them to lose by 14 in Knoxville. I was pretty disappointed to see that score.
Yeah, I've got to go with Middle Tennessee as well. I think that having a tougher matchup like against UT early in the season is tough because they've had trouble getting into their groove. So they've definitely got things to work on, but they did have a really good win against Alcorn State that I think will kind of give them a little more momentum to push through.
Yeah, they have a tough matchup tonight. And Middle Tennessee is kind of definitely a team to watch out for, where it's going to be an interesting way how they go into the conference play. And are they as good as everyone's projecting? They're going for that three-peat title in the conference. I like how you brought up the home court advantage. Even though it is at Knoxville, it's still early in the season, and these non-conference, non-Power 4 teams going into a Power 4 school, a midweek classic. Yes, it's an in-state rival, but you're not really going to have a lot of fans showing up. So that was definitely a lackluster performance on the Middle Tennessee side of things, and I'm a little shocked by Louisiana Tech, how they're performing to the level that they are, and it'll be interesting if they're able to keep that up with conference play going forward. especially with the talent they have and some of the new assistant coaches. So that's basketball for you, and when we return next season, we'll dive into conference play and everything will be heating up. So with that being said, we're going to dive into football. Now football, we got a lot to cover. It's the last episode of the 2024 year, so we are going to dive into some bowl projections as well. And this past week and weekend, we have Louisiana Tech beating WKU. So welcome to Conference USA football, where anything can happen. Louisiana Tech lost on a Hail Mary, and then all of a sudden you're going to go and beat the number one team in the conference? Huh? They lost 12-7, WKU did. Liberty beat UMass 35-34 in a close one. Jacksonville State beat FIU 34-31. So a little closer, little barn burner there, a little closer than everyone was expecting, especially with the high-powered run game that Jacksonville State has. You have Sam Houston beating Kennesaw State in overtime 23-17. I'll get into that one in a second, and then you have Texas A&M clearly taking care of business against New Mexico State 38-3. Out of those games, which game stands out to you?
Louisiana Tech and Western Kentucky, of course. I mean, it's hard for it to not be news when the number one team in the conference loses, and, well, now not number one team, as we have seen after the 5-point loss to the Bulldogs from Ruston. But it's tough for the Hilltoppers in Western Kentucky because they controlled their own destiny, went out, and you are safely in the conference title game, and they just weren't able to take care of business.
Yeah, I was just disappointed with Kennesaw's performance. They were able to force overtime late in the fourth quarter, but when they had the chance to go up with a field goal, they missed it and then allowed a touchdown to lose the game.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that game because this is the first game with the new coach for Kennesaw State. Yes, it's an interim coach, but whether it's at high school level, collegiate level, or professional level, most recently we saw it with the Saints, and with a new coach, there's kind of some more fire, and usually you pick up that win first week of the new coaching era. The other thing was when you're entering the stadium, the Kennesaw State Owls were greeted by their former coach, and they were definitely saddened at the coach leaving. So that brings me to the question of, was it a good firing, and why was there no word from the players? Did the players not have a say in this?
I think the players definitely did not have a say in that. I think it's pretty hard for the players to have a say in collegiate athletics on, the hiring and firing of coaches. I don't think this is a Aaron Rodgers in New York situation, especially with Kennesaw State.
Especially with NIL, though?
Yeah, but just with the level we're at, it's not Texas, it's not Oklahoma, it's not Alabama. Our players in the CUSA, they're not getting paid millions, they might be getting, a nice car, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I'm not super familiar with the situation, but I'm going to guess that they're not getting enough to where they have the power for that kind of say. But I just think it's a really rough situation with Kennesaw because Bohannon had success at the previous level in FCS, and I just don't think that Kennesaw had the talent for the athletic department to expect Bohannon to have early success at the level, especially in a tight conference like CUSA.
Yeah, and I think the players, like you mentioned, giving hugs to the former coach, all that type of stuff going into the game shows the connection that they'd made with the coach. And I just don't see that happening with them having a say in it. I don't think that they would make that type of scene with the former coach. So I just think that it was from the top, and it was just a terrible situation.
Yeah, and it was a interesting situation because they fired him right after they upset the number one team in the conference at that time, the Liberty Owls. Liberty Flames. The Owls upset them. And do you guys think that was a good fire or a bad fire?
I think it was a bad fire. Bohannon had success, like I said earlier, at the FCS level, and I think you need to give a coach that has been your guy for multiple years, showing multiple years of success. I think you need to give him a couple more recruiting classes, a little bit more time with the transfer portal, and just Kennesaw State getting their name out there as an FBS program instead of just a new program, because not every school is James Madison where they're going to have immediate success.
Yeah, I agree with the bad firing on that one, because when you've got a program that changes like they did, it's going to take a little bit of time for them to get good again. And so I don't think they gave him enough time to try and figure it out, and I just don't agree with it.
Yeah, and I would say it's a bad fire, and it was a bad timing fire. Yes, you're new into that conference, but when you pick up a win, big win, in conference play, and then you fire them, that kind of shows piss poor performance on the AD side of things. And the other one, as Jacksonville State now is head of the conference for standings, as it goes Jacksonville State, then Sam Houston. Now, if you told me Sam Houston would be second in the conference with 2 weeks left in the football regular season, I would have laughed at you. Because there are some things where I'm like, the run game's meh. Their pass game is not good. They don't have a strong-arm quarterback, and they have a young quarterback, so his decision-making and his football IQ is not up to par compared to the other teams like Holden Veldkamp or Caden Salter or maybe even Nicholas Vadiato. There's just some things that I'm like, wow. Sometimes they've just eked by and just luck of the draw, but that was a shocking one to me. But Jacksonville State at 1, then you go Sam Houston, Western Kentucky, Liberty, then Louisiana Tech, FIU, Middle Tennessee, UTEP, New Mexico State, and then Kennesaw State. So that Jacksonville State win, even though it was really close, and in my opinion it shouldn't have been, as they beat FIU 34-31. What are your thoughts on that one?
It shows that Jacksonville State has a little bit of grit to me. I think they've got a little more to them than, say, a Liberty would. They're able to come back out after they get punched in the mouth by a team that you don't expect it from, like Florida International. Florida International's had a rough season. They've dealt with a lot of injuries, and they're just now starting to get healthy, and they're kind of on the come up. So I think Jacksonville State being able to protect their ability to control their own destiny and stay undefeated in conference play, it just shows that they've got a little bit extra, and I feel like it just means more to them at a certain point.
Yeah, I'm sticking with Jacksonville State at number 1. I think that their run game is just too good, and they play Sam Houston and WKU next. And I don't see either of them slowing down their rushing game. I think that they're going to take the next 2 that they've got scheduled, and I think they'll win the conference.
Yeah, that's going to be some interesting ones to watch. And with regards to the standings, I talked about kind of a shocker of Sam Houston. Who is kind of a shocker or a letdown for you guys so far as we're wrapping up the college football season?
The shocker for me is going to be Liberty. I think they are one of the most fraudulent 7-2 teams in the country, or at least a 2-loss team in the country. They have had a favorable schedule, in my opinion, up to this point. and they really had the ability to be in the same conversation as Jacksonville State, where they are 5-0 heading into the last 2 weeks of conference play. And now they need a couple teams to lose for them to get back into the conference title conversation. They're still there. They're not eliminated, but now it's not up to them. There's a lot of stuff that needs to go right in their way for the Flames to make some noise for the title.
They don't control their own destiny, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a shocker to me. I don't know about you guys, whether that's a shocker looking at the season, the preseason. Were you guys expecting it to fall off because they were so dominant last year and such a dominant threat? Then they faced Oregon, and you're like, oh, well, that escalated quickly, as Ron Burgundy says best. But what are your thoughts, David?
My letdown is WKU. They were at number 1 for a little while, and they seem to have just kind of trailed off towards the end of the season. They took that loss against Louisiana Tech, and so I think they're just kind of trailing off. So, yeah.
Yeah. I would say, so Sam Houston is definitely a shocker to me, but letdown-wise, both Louisiana Tech, I would say, and Middle Tennessee. Now, I wasn't expecting Middle Tennessee to be a contender, but I wasn't expecting the lackluster performance on some games, like the Louisiana Tech game that the Blue Raiders showed with this new coaching era. There was a buzz at the beginning of the season, so maybe I was thinking first half of the season, you're going to be 500, maybe over. 1 or 2 games you're fall into, and because that WKU game was so good and so early, I think even though if Holden Veltkamp did not come in, I think they could have turned it around and won, because Holden Veltkamp has more to offer than TJ Finley. But my thing is, they got off to a deep hole in the first half, and it just kept growing deeper and deeper, and it was so deep at halftime they couldn't dig themselves out. And even though it was a buzz around, they haven't been playing up to the level they did. Now, mind you, the star running back, Frank, did declare transfer portal, and then he, as well as injured himself, but was back, but decided not to play without releasing anything. So that was definitely questionable if the motions changed there. But Louisiana Tech, they've had runners before, and they didn't lose a lot of starters. Their line, one of the few lines this year that has kept throughout last year going into this year, a lot of returners. Their run game was very dominant last year, and in a couple of the games this year, their run game was a dominant factor. So my big thing was the games that kind of you should have won or dominated more in the run game style, you haven't. Why is that? And that's my letdown for this week and this season, kind of. So when we return, as this is the last episode of CUSA All Access for this year, we'll have something special for everyone. So that is coming up next on CUSA All Access.
Miss Lee, this is Agent Williams from the tax office. Our records show an unpaid balance on your account. If you don't pay by end of day, you'll be facing jail time. Well, the fastest way to fix this is with a prepaid debit card. Can you go get one now? Yes, and we want to clear this up. If you just buy that prepaid card, put $400 on it, then call me back and read the numbers to me.
The moment they ask for a prepaid card is the moment you know something's wrong. Think before you send money. Learn more at scamowareness.org.
We do it. The stars come to Middle Tennessee State University. And students come here to become stars, no matter what they pursue. We're the only college of media and entertainment in the world, just outside the heart of Nashville.
Mic check, 1, 2, everybody listen. When you do it like this, ain't no competition. I'm talking B.I.G., VIP. Treat them like a front row seat and make them pay attention. If I shoot for the 3, then I ain't never missing. Cranking up the degrees like I was in the kitchen. Can't lose, got too much to prove. And when you do it all, it get too hard to do it.
Our curriculum and facilities are cutting edge. And our relationships with industry leaders give students an edge over the competition. Check it out. You can get real-world experience with degrees in recording industry, media arts, journalism and strategic media, and more. Media and entertainment at Middle Tennessee State University. Learn to shine.
You in. Okay. There we go. Hi, welcome back in. And we have a special guest for everyone. He started this season, and he started all of CUSA Access. So the main man, the one, the only founder of this show, Dylan Simmons.
I appreciate it. Glad to be back on the show. You know, it's been a few weeks, and I wanted to see what you guys could do, but, you know, I feel like kind of a proud father seeing you guys going out here, making this show what it is, but it's good to be back, and you know, let's talk some CUSA, you guys.
Yeah, so how do you feel about leaving this show?
You know, it's going to be tough. I first came to MTN Sports, I think in August of 2021. First week I was on campus at MTSU, I was all in on MTN. Met Dan actually in my digital media skills class, and I told Dan Eschenfelder, our supervisor, who I've mentioned before on the podcast, I was like, Dan, I want to get involved in sports broadcasting. That's what I want to do. That's my passion. That's where I see myself going in life. And I've been involved ever since. And the idea for All Access came, honestly, probably a year and a half ago, back in the spring of 2023. I talked to Dan about the possibility of a Conference USA exclusive podcast because that was a niche that hadn't really been tapped into yet, and basically a semester later, made it a reality. Here we are now, and you know, I'm kind of working as a producer behind the scenes, but it's been cool to see where the show started and where it is now, and seeing how great it's become. So really proud of where this show is and where it started from.
Yeah, definitely, and it's been an honor working with you and getting tidbits here and there, and whether you're in my ear during this show or sitting alongside at the beginning of this season. So this is the second season. Last fall you started this, and now this is the second season. So we put together a little package for you on the best little highlights throughout CUSA All Access. And you can see that right now.
Welcome to the first ever episode of CUSA All Access. Dylan Simmons alongside Ryan Martinovich and Matt Hayden, aka Baby Gator, and we cannot wait to bring you today's episode and join us on this journey. It's going to be a fun one. Can't wait to get things started. So guys, as Cody Rhodes would say, what do we want to talk about? Of course, they've got a head coach from SIU who's been bringing themselves and bringing them to a higher level. Our good friend Dan Eschenfelder will get that joke, and he'll probably enjoy that. Middle Tennessee, of course, taking on Colorado State, which, you know, just had the whole excursion out in Boulder against Deion Sanders and the prime time Colorado Buffaloes. And Alabama knows a thing or two about that with what they just did against USF, so you're well aware. I gotta say, the guy, and this might be a bit of a hot take, but he reminds me almost of a Middle Tennessee version of Luke Kuechly in a way. I kind of like that way, the way he plays in terms of the physicality, getting in there, creating opportunities for the defense.
And
oh man,
I mean, for
maybe one of the bigger wins that they've had in a long time, maybe since the Terry Bradshaw era, if you remember back to that time in the 70s. They said that that guy from Duck Dynasty also played on the team, but that's neither here nor there. Conference USA has a lot of connections, as you can tell. Phil Robertson, there you go. Shout out to Phil Robertson. If you're watching CUSA All Access, you've made it to the show, so appreciate it. Anyway, where we were talking about
Jacksonville State being a dark horse for the newcomers.
Yeah, we went a little off course there. So much, and remember to always have an electric night. Because Diego Pavia, his stuff needs to be known throughout the land. So that's what I wanted you to know, and I think it's pretty cool to see. So, oh, by the way, what do you guys think of my new haircut?
You wearing a hat.
Well, you know, I thought you could see through it, maybe.
You're wearing a hat. Why are you asking about a haircut if you're wearing a hat? Take off your hat.
Okay. What do you think?
Okay, it looks good. You're fine. You're fine.
Well,
Show the audience. Show the audience. Show the audience. Take the hat off again. There you go. There's
Whoa.
Dylan's
Yeah,
Dylan's
haircut
haircut
is
that he
smooth.
decided to wear a hat and then talk about
I always
his
wear a
hair.
hat. That's my thing.
I know, but
Remember to always have an electric night. And remember to always have an electric night. Not bland. You're not like Rice. You're not bland. Brett fans will get that reference.
no,
Anyway,
they won't. Anyway,
moving
But,
on.
yeah.
Remember to always have an electric night.
Okay, Devin says that Western Kentucky will win Conference USA.
I think so.
We'll come back to this at the end of the year to see if you were right. And remember to always have an electric night. Maybe a bit of a hot take. I think they could turn it around, and they already are turning it around in the Southland. They could continue that in Conference USA. They're currently the top team in the conference. Granted, they were 1-10 a year ago, but McNeese State has a lot on their plate that they could bring to Conference USA, and I think could increase the level of the play of the football.
We're writing that one down.
All right, is that a write down?
The wall of predictions.
State.
McNeese State would be good for Conference USA. I'm not predicting they're going to join, but I think CUSA administration maybe should take a look at that. I'll be happy to watch Miami beat the brakes off of Florida State because my feelings for Florida State are well done. Remember to always have an electric night.
We'll come back in, so that was a little something
Man,
special.
that was
send-off for
cool.
you.
That was cool. Did you put that together?
I did, yeah,
Man.
a little put together.
That is cool. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's an old trip down memory lane. Some good times. Even saw Matt and Ryan back on the podcast, and even Sam Dowden made a guest appearance in there, and Ethan Odom too. So that's kind of cool. It's cool to see everybody who's been a part of this.
It really has been, and you know, there's some funny moments. The Rice story.
Rice story.
That
yes.
was a fun,
all-time classic.
Yeah, and we may have time later if you want to tell it later. We'll check back on that one.
We can do that.
And you know, you've made some predictions here and there, so let's circle back to what you said at the beginning of the season.
Okay.
Even though Western Kentucky fell off last game, I still think they'll win the conference. Who do you have winning conference, Willie?
I think it'll be Jacksonville State over Western in the conference championship.
Yep, I've got to go with Jacksonville State as well.
See, these guys know what they're talking about, Devin. They know exactly what the deal is. Now, I respect Western Kentucky, and I respect the pick that you made at the start of the season, and it did turn out and it looked like it was going to be the pick to go with, but Jacksonville State has just played more effective and more consistently as of late, so I got the Gamecocks as well. To me, they just look like the more dangerous team at the moment.
They do, but I think that Western Kentucky air raid offense is going to be their Achilles heel.
They scored 9 points against Louisiana Tech, though, Devin.
Yeah, but their offense wasn't that good.
They were not good at all.
No.
You got that right.
And with that being said, you've also mentioned McNeese State.
I did mention McNeese State, yeah.
They're a little shaky this season.
Do you remember that 2014 game against Nebraska, though, where they almost won?
No, I do not.
Lincoln, Nebraska?
We were 9. We were 9.
I was 11 years old at that time. I remember it well.
That is a big difference at the time.
You know,
Let me tell you.
Also said was really good at football recently.
Who's that?
Dan just said UMass. They haven't had a winning record in 10 years. So you want to say McNeese State is still good for Conference USA?
Hey, I think they could add a certain element to Conference USA that we haven't quite seen yet, and they would help that Louisiana market just a little bit. So I think McNeese State has some potential, and like I said, they've been getting better and better from the doldrums they were once in. So yes, I think McNeese State is still a quality addition, and I'm going to stand on that. In fact, I'm going to stand up on that. McNeese State is a quality addition to Conference USA.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Okay, David, what are your thoughts there?
I'll just go with Dylan.
Yeah.
What conference is McNeese State in
The
currently?
Southland.
So a jump from FCS Southland to CUSA to make it an odd-numbered conference where we already have...
Hey, somebody's got to replace UTEP.
But we already have a tornado mess with Kennesaw State coming up from FCS. Do we really need another PR disaster in
We
the
already have
conference?
two next year. We already have two next year with Delaware State and Missouri State.
Yeah.
So should we add a third one?
I mean, I think it would be fun. Why not?
Is this a conference built on fun, or is this a conference built on winning?
We do need some winners.
We definitely do.
McNeese State could be a winner, is all I'm saying. Give them a chance.
I think Missouri State may
Justice for McNeese
be
State.
Interesting there. Missouri State will be interesting next year, I think, from that FCS jump.
Yeah, they're looking really good right now. They've toured up in the MVC, and I think they're number 18 in the FCS this year. So, looking solid.
They're third in the MVC.
In the Missouri Valley, third or fourth.
So that's going to be interesting there. So let's dive into picks. So I asked both Willie and David, who do you think is going to win the volleyball tournament, Dylan?
That's going to be a tough one. As much as it pains me to say it, it's probably going to be Western Kentucky. They've been the most consistent team year in and year out. Ever since I got here in 2021, it's been Western Kentucky's conference to run, and I don't see any reason, even with it being in El Paso, why that would change. So I think the Hilltoppers will get it done.
That's definitely going to be an interesting one.
How many conference games in a row have they won, Willie?
They're at 92, so
92 in a row.
Winning the conference title would put them at 95.
Somebody's got to stop them.
Yes.
That's just stupid.
Here at Middle Tennessee, we do not like the Hilltoppers, the greatest. 100 miles of...
Not exactly.
One of the greatest rivalries, I would say, in this conference.
Yes.
And, in my opinion, one of them the greatest ones in football.
I think that, honestly, 100 Miles of Hate is a really underrated rivalry. It's at least the best in Conference USA. When you talk about the hatred, for lack of a better term, that MTSU fans and Western Kentucky fans have for each other, it's something that goes back generations. I mean, these two teams started playing in the 1920s, so it runs deep, and it's always a good game. Even if MTSU's been losing a little bit more recently, it's always a lot of fun.
Yes. So let's dive right into picks, and we got everybody's tournament picks. So let's dive right into football. FIU at Kennesaw State. Dylan, what do you got?
I'm going to pick FIU. You guys talked about it earlier on in the podcast. I was listening in my producer chair, and I just don't understand why Kennesaw State would fire their head coach. They were trending in a positive direction. They just upset Liberty. I don't see why you want to completely just give him the complete boot right when he's starting to put the program in a good spot. So I don't get that. I think FIU is going to be a bit more motivated to come out and win this game. If Kennesaw State still had their former head coach, I think they would win this game. I like the momentum they were showing, but I think FIU will take it.
David?
Yep. I'm going to go KSU. I think that surprisingly they've played pretty well since the firing. So, yeah, I'm just going to go with Kennesaw State.
I'm going to take Florida International on the road. They've really put up some numbers since that offense, including Keon Jenkins, have gotten healthy, and they've really found some success in the air. And I don't think Kennesaw is really in a position where they can stop that, especially with just the whole head coach mess and guys hitting the portal, and then you've got Bohannon's sons on the team. I can't even imagine how it feels for them right now. So I just think there's too much of a mess going on in Kennesaw for them to really compete with Florida International.
Yeah, I think Florida International will take this. They have momentum coming in from last week's game. Tough loss. A lot closer than everyone expected against the number one team of the conference, Jacksonville State. As well as I think Kennesaw State is kind of falling off, but as well as their will to win is not there.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I would not be surprised if Kennesaw State loses the rest of the season and doesn't show up for any of these games mentally, of course. They'll physically be there.
Yeah.
And kind of stick it to the 80, like, you made a bad decision. Let's see where this goes.
They're just going to tank the rest of the season.
Maybe.
Man, to stick it to the athletic director.
I would not be surprised because I think the players wanted that coach to stick around for a while.
Yeah, I mean, he came to the very next game, right? I remember he was shaking their hands, telling them good luck in the game today. That kind of connection you can't teach. That's something that's just kind of ingrained in a culture and with a team. So that was, again, like I've said before, shocking.
Yeah, it was. Sam Houston at Jacksonville State.
I think this is going to be a wonderful game. I think this might push that Liberty-Kennesaw State game out of the Game of the Year seat for this USA. We've got the top-scoring offense versus the top-scoring defense going in a showdown, but I think Jacksonville State will prevail. That rushing attack is just, it's too good. I don't think Sam Houston really stands a chance against what Jacksonville State does on the ground.
Yeah, I think it'll be an explosive game, but I think Jacksonville State's going to take it.
I like Jacksonville State's offense too much right now, and I don't like Sam Houston's chances as much in a shootout. I think the Gamecocks are just playing with supreme confidence. Give me Jacksonville State.
Yep, give me Jacksonville State. So let's kind of pick up the pace here. Western Kentucky at Liberty.
Ooh, that's going to be an interesting one. Now, I really want to see the Liberty team that we all know is out there. They're the ones that made the Fiesta Bowl, that were undefeated in CUSA play a year ago, but this is also the same team that just went into overtime with UMass. So I can't really trust the Flames right now. And again, it pains me in my Blue Raider heart to say this, but it's going to be Western Kentucky getting the win.
Yep, I've got to go Western Kentucky.
I will too. I just don't think Liberty can rebound from their struggles, especially after needing a missed extra point in overtime to beat a crappy UMass team.
Yeah. Give me Western Kentucky. I think Western Kentucky is the team to finally do a little bit of a reality check on Liberty in the conference. I think that Kennesaw State game was just kind of just a fluke game. It wasn't where it was a good upset, but I think Western Kentucky,
the Georgia boy is going against Kennesaw State. You know your locals are not going to like you after saying that.
Not a lot of fans are KSU fans down there where I'm.
Hey.
Yeah, so
they rushed the field, Devin.
Twice.
Yeah. That's right.
So Louisiana Tech at Arkansas.
Louisiana Tech's getting paid $1.65 million to learn what SEC ball is, so I'm going to take the Hogs.
Yep, I've got to go Arkansas.
Yeah, Arkansas is going to take Louisiana Tech to the cleaners. Not even close. But that $1.7 million payday always feels nice.
Yeah.
It's going to feel real nice, and give me the Hogs as well. New Mexico State at MTSU.
We're going to pick this one for Blue Raider Extra Point as well on Saturday, and I've got to go with MTSU. I just can't, in my heart, pick against Middle Tennessee. New Mexico State has not looked like the team that we saw a year ago. Obviously, you're missing Jerry Kill and the man, the myth, the legend, Diego Pavia. When you don't have those two elements, you're not going to be the same team. I think MTSU, especially at home, is going to be a bit more motivated to come out and get the win. Give me the Blue Raiders.
Yeah, I'm going MTSU.
I like Dylan's point about Senior Day. I think that gives Middle Tennessee a little extra. New Mexico can't throw the ball. Middle Tennessee can't run the ball. It'll be really interesting to see who can do what on Saturday.
Yeah, give me the Blue Raiders and tune into Blue Raider Extra Point on Saturday.
Final one of the season, too.
We got a little something special there. So UTEP at Tennessee, all going Tennessee?
Absolutely.
Yep.
They're going to get their $1.6 million and move on with life.
Love those paydays.
Jacksonville State at Western Kentucky.
Jack State at Western Kentucky. Again, got to pick Jacksonville State in this one. I just think they're going to be the better team overall.
Yep, like I said earlier, I think Jacksonville State's going to take this one as well.
Yeah, I think this might be a preview of the conference championship, but I think Jacksonville State gets it done.
Yep. I got to say Jacksonville State, even though it's out Western Kentucky, and then I think Western Kentucky will get their revenge in the conference championship.
Oh, boy. All right.
KSU at Liberty. At Louisiana Tech.
KSU at Louisiana Tech. I'm going to go with Louisiana Tech to win that game.
Yep, I'm going Louisiana Tech. We've seen flashes of an explosive offense, so I've got to go with them.
I'm going to take the Bulldogs in Ruston. I just think Kennesaw State's too far gone.
Give me the Bulldogs. Liberty at Sam Houston.
I think Sam Houston's going to go out and win that game, especially with it being in Huntsville, Texas. I like the way Sam Houston's playing right now. They're going to be probably coming off a loss in going into this game as well, so give me the Bearcats.
Yep, I agree with Dylan. I think that Sam Houston's going to take it, and I don't think Liberty's all that.
If there's a time for Liberty to figure it out, it'll be in Sam Houston, but I think they're on the Kennesaw train. I'm going to take Sam Houston.
Give me the Bearcats. And quickly, FIU, Middle Tennessee at FIU.
FIU.
I'm going MTSU.
And for your final pick, Dylan, here on CUSA All Access.
Oh, you know I can't pick against MTSU. Give me the Blue Raiders to win at Pitbull Stadium.
Hey,
Mr. 305 is not going to know what hit him after
there
this one.
you go. So next year, 2025, is when we will see you guys next time. And for your final pick, you can pull a little Lee Corso, and if you want to put that one on.
Man, it's such a pleasure. It's such an honor. Why not? I'm picking the Blue Raiders.
And send us off, Dylan, one last time with your famous sayings.
All right, well, thank you all so much for tuning in. It's been a great journey over these last few years, and want to send a special thank you. It's been a great ride, and can't wait to see where this show goes in the future. So one more time, for Devin Lockhart, for Willie Failer, and David Kassman, I'm Dylan Simmons saying so long from CUSA All Access, and remember to always have an electric night.